in lieu of the reports today, what do you think Collin Sexton's trade value is? One thing I want to touch on here, and this is not G's fault, we don't need to cover thoughts as rumors. And Terry Pluto of the Cleveland Plain Dealer heard from two executives that they floated the idea of maybe Collin Sexton being traded. That is not a rumor. It is not a report. It is two execs, possibly from other teams, who want Collin Sexton, throwing it out there. Now, that being said, the idea of trading Collin Sexton to me is not bonkers because he is coming up for his extension and he's an extremely difficult player to value, and he gets even harder for the Cavs because they're not ready to win right now. And so if you sign, this has nothing to do with Kevin Love. His deal is the light. He has 2 years left. There's a light at the end of the tunnel there. If you can't move him this year, there will be some weird ass buyout next year, or they'll be able to move him, something, whatever. Collin Sexton's extension eligible this year. Big money deal kicks in the following year. Also, when Darius Garland is extension eligible. Jared Allen is getting paid this summer in restricted free agency. You fast forward 2 more seasons then. Your core is those 3 guys, plus Isaac Okoro, plus whoever you drafted this year. Maybe Lamar Stevens pans out. You look at the rest of the roster, the little flyers they've taken. But you have those 3 big money players. Are they worth, I'm going to say, Sexton, Jared Allen, and Darius Garland, a combined 70 to 70, I'll say $70 million. Because that's what you're looking at. And the answer is no. And they're worth that if that's what they get. I want to make that clear. I want every single player in the NBA to make all.
I love how often you clarify that. Just FYI.
Yes, because I think there needs to be that level of empathy there. But if you don't think Collin Sexton's going to get paid by someone, there were only 11 other players in the league this year who averaged over 20 points while shooting better than 50% on 2 and 37% from 3. That actually sounds like an extensive list. When you look at the names, it's pretty much a list of all NBA candidates. Jaylen Brown, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving, Nikola Jokic, Zach LaVine, Kawhi Leonard, Damian Lillard, Jason Tatum, and Karl Anthony Towns. Those are all max contract players. I know Jaylen Brown didn't get a max. I know Zach LaVine's value is probably debatable. If any one of those players hit free agency this summer or next summer, they're getting a max contract. So if I'm Collin Sexton and his agent, and you're coming in with an extension offer that's below max money, I'm probably turning it down unless we're in the $20+ million neighborhoods where it's really making you think about it. And that's why Collin Sexton could theoretically become available, because he's not a point guard, and we need to stop judging him as such. His vision has gotten better on the move. Still gets that tunnel vision, though. His defense comes and goes. He really looks the part sometimes on ball. And when he looks the part, I don't mean that he's effective. He just looks like he should be a good defender when he's on the ball. It's fine if you think that he doesn't need to be that guy, and Darius Garland is. I don't know if that's the backcourt to funnel $50 million into per year, 50 plus. And that I think is the reasoning behind, would you shop Collin Sexton this year? I'm going to follow it up with this now before I throw it to you. Moving really good players on rookie deals is incredibly difficult. And I think the Hawks ran into this with John Collins this year. You're not getting equal value in players because these guys make so little. In Collin Sexton's case next year, he's going to be making $6.4 million, $6.3 million, actually, even less than 6.4. You're not getting there's no $6.4 million player that just has Collin Sexton's value for the most part. You have to
aside from other guys on rookie scale contracts, which you're not going to get.
Right. And you could attach him to more money, but what is if you attach him to Kevin Love, getting off of Kevin Love's salary then becomes one of the assets you're getting back in that deal. And so that's why things here are so tricky. What would you do if you're Cleveland in this situation, Adam?
I would just keep building. I wholeheartedly agree with everything that you've had to say. I mean, when I saw the quote unquote trade rumors, it was like, okay, sure. What are we doing here? This is definitely just another executive from an opposing team trying to drum up some interest and maybe tempt Cleveland into parting with him, which is never going to happen. Collin Sexton is the guy, regardless of whether there's abrasiveness in the locker room or in terms of his on-court style and maybe not getting the ball to enough other players. okay, he's a young guard on a bad team. Like, that's kind of what happens.
And put your name to this shit. If you're going to come out and bash your teammate,
player, yeah.
Sorry,
Collin Sexton is the kind of player that you want to acquire if you're a rebuilding team, and the Cavs are a rebuilding team. So, like, there is no fire associated with this smoke.
On the Collin Sexton, really quickly though, I understand what you're saying. I would keep him too. But what are you? If you're in extension talks, what are you giving him?
I mean, I think you're still looking at something close to a max deal. Like, let's not forget.
Sign him if it's 20. If it's 20, otherwise you wait.
Sure. But let's not forget how ridiculously good he was at the start of this season.
And let's also not forget that he was also good for most of last year. So this scoring and efficiency is not new for him. It's not an anomaly. If you want to wait and see what his market is, that's a team's right as restricted free.
When I'm evaluating a young player going forward, I'm often, if they're on a really bad team like the Cavaliers, I'm often more interested in what they do at the start of the season anyway, because that's when everyone is more fresh, and I see them wearing down. It's obvious to me that the offensive load Sexton was asked to carry on a bad team that's losing night after night following the hot streak at the start of the year, that is a really tough load for any young offensive-oriented player to carry. And it doesn't surprise me when they decline a little bit. You can obviously learn stuff throughout the year, but in that specific scenario, I'm more willing to buy into the peak that we saw, even if it came earlier in the year.